we don't just tell them the good, we tell them the bad, right? That's something else. And once we have further conversations with them, we let them know all the bad. Like, hey, here's why you may not want the job. Insurance industry is hard. If your job is to answer phones, guess what? You may get yelled at every now and again. It's not a fun job 24/7.
You might even want to talk a little bit about how you recruit, or if you don't, that's fine too. But talk a little bit about before they ever come in the door.
Good question. So when we established those values, and we don't try to keep going back to that, but it was really important, right? And our team understood that. They knew, they had a strong sense of what we're about and understanding our purpose. After we had a couple hires, our next four or five guys, right, were all referred to us by existing employees, right? So once that was established, the hiring, which was crazy, got a lot easier. Now, we did use some third-party sources like Ideal Traits. I don't know if we ran any ads, posting stuff on Facebook. But our hires, 90% of them were all from current employees that referred themselves to us. So, it already had someone coming to us, and, if they're on our team, they know what to expect. They know who they're going to be working with. They know if, they're going to work well with us. So that was pretty easy, right? A lot of the vetting was done. When we talk about interviewing people, it's probably a bit different. Lots of times, Michael and I are jumping on the first call, and we're like, hey, this is going to be completely different than what you've experienced. I tell them I have self-diagnosed ADD, so they can say something and I might go off on some tangent. But our goal at first, we just want to talk to them as a person. We want to talk to them. We want to get to know them. We want to know what's important to them, their family, what drives them. A lot of the questions are based upon our core values and trying to get a feel if we feel like they already have those as a value in their life, or if they're going to have an issue, growing in those as they come on with us. And we have other steps if you want us to go over that.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you just talk through your steps?
Yeah. So I'll let Michael, because I don't want to talk too much about it, go over our next steps. But that first initial call, it's just getting a good feeling, right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of times they get taken aback because we don't talk much about insurance at all. And it's just Jeremy and I, it's like a conversation, right? It's like small talk, but we get into a good conversation. So we feel like they know us and we know them by the end of it. And then Jeremy has a series of emails that, we in the insurance industry, I think Jeremy and I were talking about this earlier, people give and take and copy from everybody. So it's a mixture. Grant Botma has a great book. He has a great process. We've used a lot from him. And then also Billy Wagner, obviously we're not doing what he's doing, but he has some good input and we've probably taken a little bit from there as well. But we send out a series of emails. If we talk about clarity, right, we send out emails and we want to know exactly what do you expect in terms of pay? What do you need in terms of pay? We talk about hours. We talk about working remotely. We don't just tell them the good, we tell them the bad, right? That's something else. And once we have further conversations with them, we let them know all the bad. Like, hey, here's why you may not want the job. Insurance industry is hard. If your job is to answer phones, guess what? You may get yelled at every now and again. It's not a fun job 24/7. So to stick with our core value of clarity, we let them know all of that. And then one thing that we asked them to do, and I think this did come from Grant, we asked them to send us a video of themselves telling us why they think they would be good for the position. It's awkward and it's embarrassing for a lot of people to do that. It's frightening to do a video, but they do a video and they send it to us. And then I'll just
you know what, man, if they do the video, that's huge kudos to them. And from my perspective, even if they look horribly awkward on video or whatever, they get more credibility from me for pushing the boundaries and actually getting outside their comfort zone than somebody like us who, gets on video all the time. Michael, I'm not going to speak for Caleb and Jeremy, but you and I do video all the time. It's nothing to me. I don't even think about it anymore.
No. But for them, it's a big deal. And also being a virtual company, guess what? We're on video calls all the time. You have to be comfortable being on video and showing your face.
Well, and also, I'm not sure what your process is in the agency, but we use better proposals and we do video proposals for everything. So if you're not comfortable on video, it's going to probably be pretty tough for me to find a desk for you here. Not just producers, but even on the service side, because a lot of what we do is video specifically because that's the one way we can get human connection with our clients. When COVID came, it changed the game for a lot of stuff. Even in the middle market, the majority of our meetings now, our first appointments are not in person anymore. Our goal when we call and telemarket or we have our appointment setters call somebody is not for us to go show up and sit in your conference room for an hour. It's a 15 to 20-minute introductory call on Zoom, and you've got to be comfortable, in that environment and doing that. And so I think that's a good move, man. I think it's a really good, stage step for you to have people go through. But it's also probably one like that weeds people out. Because have you had anybody come back and say, I'm just not comfortable at all on video, so I'm going to go ahead and excuse myself?
And that happened just like a month ago, Jeremy?
We had one person, and that, we're like, yeah, I respect that. You're just not a good fit for us. Right.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then I'll just finish this. The last part of the process before we officially decide to pull the trigger is we get our managers on there. We get other people that they'll be working with on there. And we have a multiple series of interviews with those people. And same thing, we're not grilling them on insurance knowledge. We're just talking, getting to know them, and let our other team members sign off and say, yes, they fit culturally. We want them to be part of our organization.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot in retail, where if people, I tried to let my team be involved as much as possible in the actual hiring process. And I did it for a couple of reasons. Number one, to develop them a little bit and help them get a skill set of interviewing and talking to people, because if they're ever going to move into management, that's something they're going to need. But then number two, I also wanted them to buy in. Like, I was typically the last person to talk to somebody, because usually it was somebody had a friend. I'm like, okay, bring them in and talk to the team lead or whoever else. But I would have everybody else talk to them. And by the time it got to me, it was literally just me signing off. I wanted them to be able to make the decision. Then I could also hold them accountable for it. So if 2 months in, they came back to me and said, oh, this person's terrible, they're not doing this, they're a nightmare to work with. I'm like, well, why'd you recommend them? I didn't interview this guy. You guys supposedly ran him through the ringer. I just empowered you to make the decision. Now, how are we going to get rid of him? Yeah. But if you include your team, it only takes one or two bad ones that they kind of let slip through the cracks after you involve them before they self-police, and they're going to purify every candidate before it ever even gets to the point where you're ready to make them an offer.
For sure. But I think it also gives the potential candidate, since we're working virtually, a chance to meet as many people on the team 100%. As possible. We tell them, hey, we want this to be a good fit for us, but we want it to be a good fit for you. And we usually tell them, like Michael said, all the bad things, because if we tell you all the good and 2 weeks, 4 weeks in, it's like you were sold on this great position. You're not going to want to be here. But if the first 2 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks are hell, you'll say, okay, it's going to get better. But they told me, I knew it was like this. There was those expectations, right? So having them be able to talk to other team members, people they'll be working with, and feeling comfortable, that is important, right? We always talk about in the insurance industry, the client experience, or just even out there, in the retail world. But we really started evaluating as we hired virtually, for these people, the team member experience, that potential employee's experience, right? And that goes into the interview process, looking at it from their standpoint and trying to make them feel as comfortable as possible. It's scary. You're living in Michigan, one owner's in Missouri, two are in Arizona. You never meet them and they're hiring you. Everything sounds great, but is it really great? Who are these other people? The owners are great. Is my direct manager going to be great? Are my coworkers going to be great? So we just like to open it up and have them experience that interaction with as many people as possible.
That way on day one, you come in feeling like you know everybody, right? Because it's not like you're in person. Day one in an in-person job, you show up and you meet the team and it's all this camaraderie and you're, hey, good to meet you. You don't get that being virtual. So if you can come in first day on the job and you've already met almost everybody and had at least a half-hour long conversation with everybody, you feel a lot more comfortable going into your first day. It's a much better experience.